There are a lot of stories out there about lottery winners who go on to destroy their lives. Something like 70% of them supposedly go bankrupt within a few years. It's not hard to see how that would happen. When you give a lot of money and attention to a person who didn't earn any of it, that person doesn't suddenly change overnight. Instead, more often than not, all of their worst character traits are amplified 10 times over. And in many cases, that leads to a very public and humiliating collapse. This is a principle that doesn't just apply to individuals, it turns out. It applies to organizations too. Unearned fame and fortune are far more destructive than they might appear. And right now, there's no organization on the planet that proves this point more.
Caitlin Clark finally decided to speak, and fans everywhere are holding their breath. After weeks of speculation, people were wondering, was she done with the WNBA for good? Would she head overseas? And today, she made her move. A simple post on Instagram, but man, does it say a lot.
Everyone should be overjoyed, but there's a big problem. All of this success, every bit of it, is due to the presence of one player in the league, and that is a generational talent named Caitlin Clark, who of course you've heard of, and still probably the only WNBA player whose name you know. She's the reason the WNBA just won the lottery. Without Caitlin Clark, nobody cares about any of these players.
Coming off one of the most jaw-dropping rookie seasons ever, Clark had everyone talking. Now her words are fueling even more conversation. Her next move could flip everything on its head, not just for the WNBA, but for the entire world of women's basketball.
Therefore, everyone in the league other than Caitlin Clark is doing exactly what so many lottery winners do. They're allowing all of their worst personality traits to surface because they just can't help themselves.
You're going to want to stick around for this because this news is going to change everything.
Caitlin Clark wins the Rookie of the Year. There was one vote for Angel Reese, everybody else for Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark's rookie season rewrote the record books. In her debut year, she set 62 new league and rookie records. Averaging 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game, she quickly became one of the league's standout performers. Her 337 assists marked a new high for the WNBA in a single season, and her 2 triple-doubles showed her ability to dominate across the board. Clark's presence wasn't only felt in her stats. She transformed the Indiana Fever from a struggling franchise into a playoff contender. The team ended the season with 20 wins, their best since 2015, and her leadership helped bring them back to the postseason after a long absence. Fever games, once partially attended, saw sold-out crowds, and Clark's play attracted significant national media coverage.
What is going on in these streets? Whenever you bring up Caitlin Clark, it's almost like if you say Caitlin Clark's name, it's like saying Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. It's like that polarizing. You bring up Caitlin Clark around the homies, they like, hey man, you trying to tell me who you voted for? What? Oh, hey man, you trying to tell me you a sellout? What? You trying to tell me you don't like basketball on the ladies level? Look, I just said she good, dog. Damn, why so dick?
Her influence rippled across the WNBA as viewership surged whenever she stepped on the court. Fans eagerly tuned in to watch, drawn to her style of play and her ability to make big plays in key moments. Caitlin Clark's impact went beyond what was expected from any rookie, breathing new life into the team and drawing massive attention to the league.
She's the biggest star in all of sports, and she's a woman. This is very unique. No woman's ever been asked to carry this burden. No, it's never happened in America.
After a season full of highs, Caitlin Clark's playoff run ended in frustration. Clark delivered a stellar performance, recording 29 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds.
I was playing with a real-size basketball. She wasn't. All of that. And it's like, oh, wow. And then, obviously, you have Angel Reese still trolling her, and the people in the media being uncomfortable, and Paige Beckers is really the best player.
However, the lack of support from her teammates became glaringly obvious. Kelsey Mitchell, a key player, struggled, shooting just 3 of 12, while others seemed lost on the court. The physical play against Clark was relentless. During that same game, she faced an eye poke incident that left her briefly disoriented. The media quickly picked up on the event, turning it into a talking point about the treatment she received throughout the season.
Over the past week or two, race hysteria in the WNBA has somehow reached yet another inflection point. The league is currently in the midst of what really might be the single most contrived racism scandal, certainly in any professional sport, at least since the fake noose in Bubba Wallace's garage. Specifically, a bunch of WNBA players have come out claiming that they've been victimized by racial slurs and other forms of racist attacks. Like, a lot of players are claiming this. In other words, they're now accusing the people who have started showing up to WNBA games for the first time in more than 2 decades of being horrible.
While Clark fought through it and kept playing, the incident fueled growing criticism about the way officials were handling the physicality she encountered. So this wasn't the first time Clark had taken hard hits without much help from referees. The playoff loss and the lack of calls left her visibly rattled, signaling a deeper issue about how she was being treated on the court. For Clark, the tough exit from the playoffs may have been the final straw in a season that had both incredible highs and painful lows.
Caitlin Clark has been tested like every other basketball player that has come to the W. Have there been cheap shots? Of course. Does everybody else in the league get cheap shots? Of course. And as I wonder why it's like this, I've really just boiled it down to a couple of things. Number one, Drake came out with a song a few years ago called Nice for What? And it literally changed my life because I am so tired of women being conditioned to be nice. And for some reason, we are expecting our pro female athletes to be nice. Stop it. They are competitive, aggressive, want to win, physical. That's what they should.
WNBA's handling of Caitlin Clark's physical treatment became a major point of criticism throughout the season. Clark, known for her intensity and skill, found herself on the receiving end of some of the roughest play in the leagues. Nearly a fifth of the league's flagrant fouls were committed against her. That stat alone had fans and analysts questioning why she wasn't getting more protection from the officials.
The hot topic going on right now. Caitlin Clark says she got cheap shotted against the sky. I mean, throughout the season, she's been getting beat up. Hard screens, elbows, knocked down. It is what it is. She's not the first. She won't be the last. My issue and my question is, where the fuck are her teammates at? Where y'all at? Where the rest of the Indiana Fever at? I've seen a couple girls smirk when she's got knocked down, half-assed to pick her up. Like, y'all supposed to protect the asset, protect the star. And all this is the team, she's the star. You always protect your star. I was someone who protected the stars. You fuck with Cole, CP, Blake, list goes on. It's gonna be a problem because you guys are supposed to be a family. And you wonder why you sit at the bottom of the league right now is because y'all don't protect each other, man. Coach don't do shit about it. Players don't do shit about it. Y'all should be ashamed of it. But the rest of the league is gonna continue to test her. And that's what they're supposed to do. It's your guys' fucking job to have her back and have each other's back. Gotta do better.
One of the most talked about moments was the eye poke incident during the playoff game against the Connecticut Sun. DeJounte Carrington's swipe wasn't ruled as a flagrant foul, despite Clark being visibly hurt and struggling to continue.
It nearly took Caitlin Clark's eye out on the court just a few minutes into the game. This is one of the many flagrant fouls against Clark that have occurred since she started in the league. And this one wasn't even called, but here it is, watch.
Harassed by Carrington, finds Boston. Clark gets hit in the face by Carrington and is down. Caitlin Clark is down, no call as Connecticut takes advantage, and Clark is still down after taking a shot following the pass to Boston. Clark in pain after she caught that fingertip in the eye.
The lack of a call sent shockwaves through social media, with many accusing the referees of not doing enough to protect the league's brightest star. Fans couldn't understand why someone who brought so much attention and revenue to the league seemed to be treated so poorly on the court.
So we had Cheryl Swoops on this couch back in January. She pointed out that this league is cutthroat. People are fighting for jobs. You got first-round picks that are getting cut from rosters. Yes, Caitlin's coming in with some star power and celebrity, and that's been beneficial for the league as a whole and the revenue. But at the end of the day, you're not on my team. It is what it is.
Caitlin Clark's treatment in the WNBA also sparked conversations about double standards and racism within the league. Some fans and even players began to speak out, accusing the WNBA of having a bias in how they handled Clark compared to other athletes. The controversy heated up when Clark was noticeably absent from key marketing moments, most notably a major playoff promotional post. The league chose to feature her teammate Kelsey Mitchell instead of Clark. Despite her being the face that brought so much attention to the Fever and the WNBA as a whole.
Too manufactured and overblown to take seriously. They're reaching to a degree that's comical and delusional at the same time.
It's very, very important that we point this out. She fills seats. She brings the cameras. She brings national publicity. It's what she does.
This absence sparked outrage online, with fans flooding social media to call out the WNBA's decision. Some suggested that the league was intentionally sidelining Clark because of her race.
I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with. That's what Caitlin Clark said. That is what she said, okay? But to me, it's a bigger issue going on. And when this happened and that girl, Kennedy Carter, pushed her in the back like that, it was a cheap shot. It was not a basketball play. She should have been ejected, number one. Number two, there should have been a fine that was incurred thereafter. Number three, not to say that there won't be or hasn't been at this moment in time, I don't know of one. I know the team was fined for media availability purposes because people weren't available to talk. I know Angel Reese was also going to be fined because she didn't make herself available for the media as well. And I get all of that as well. We understand it. We see it for what it is. It is.
The controversy surrounding Clark's treatment in the WNBA brought up some deeper conversations about race and double standards. Fans and even a few players voiced concerns that the league wasn't treating her the same as others. The conversation intensified after she was left out of a major playoff promotional post, even though she had been the driving force behind the Indiana Fever's success. Instead, her teammate Kelsey Mitchell was featured. This move didn't sit well with many, especially given how much attention Clark had brought to the league throughout the season.
One of the things that I brought up this morning in talking about Caitlin Clark is that some of the players, you want to use the word jealousy, fine. You want to use the word envy, fine. You want to use the word resentment. We want to play with words. That's cool. It's something. And I think that some of the ladies, not all, but some of the ladies in the WNBA are missing the point. And the point is, this girl right here is a box office attraction. And because of her box office attraction, it's generating more eyeballs to the WNBA product, therefore more revenue for the WNBA product. Don't you think y'all are going to benefit from that too? Look at the big picture.
Outrage spread quickly across social media, with fans accusing the league of intentionally downplaying Clark's role. Some pointed to racial biases, questioning if the WNBA was uncomfortable with her rise in a league that's predominantly black. These accusations left the WNBA in a tricky spot. What began as concerns over marketing quickly escalated into bigger debates about how the league treats its stars, and whether Clark was being fairly promoted or sidelined due to underlying biases.
If you are a WNBA player and you resent Caitlin Clark, it makes perfect sense. Because she's white and she's the golden girl that's considered the marketing savior for the sport. Yes, they were talking about chartered flights before she ever came along and opened her mouth. But shortly after Caitlin Clark opened her mouth, you had chartered flights. And you ain't have it in 2 decades. She's got that kind of influence, that kind of power.
After the season's ups and downs, including her frustration with the physical play and lack of protection, Clark made a decision that stunned the basketball world. She announced her decision to step away from the WNBA. On Instagram, she mentioned the mental and physical toll that this season took on her, saying, "I feel like basketball has consumed my life." It wasn't just the rough play on the court that pushed her, but the struggles with WNBA officiating and the lack of support that wore her down. The rumors of her going to Europe make a lot of sense. European leagues have a reputation for treating players better offering higher paychecks and allowing more freedom. Many American players head there in the offseason for exactly those reasons. The idea of Clark dominating in Europe is hardly far-fetched. It's expected that she would thrive in a league where she'd be both respected and compensated well for her talents. As Caitlin Clark's future remains uncertain, one thing's clear: the WNBA won't be the same without her. Will she return or thrive overseas? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update on all things WNBA.